Hey guys, it's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe, and I wanted to give a shout out to the Video Game Greek, who asked me to do a Dreamcast collection video. I did one in 2018. Admittedly, I don't know how much this has changed, because I maybe got 10 games or 12 games over the years. I don't buy a ton of video games like I used to, but I definitely got some. So this is the 2021 edition of the Dreamcast collection. I have a pretty big collection, lots of imports, and sorry about that, just moving the tortoise so he stops bumping into the wall. I have a ton of stuff for the Dreamcast. I have the Dream Eye camera, I have those dual sticks you use with that robot game, I have the microphone, the little microphone for Seaman, and an arcade stick. I used to have a wheel too, but I sold it. I never really used it, a racing wheel. So these are all my Dreamcast games. I'm going to start with these over here. This is a little less fun to look at. It's a Dreamcast carrying case someone gave me with some loose disc games. So we have Jet Grind Radio. Or was it Jet Set Radio, excuse me. Tokyo Extreme Racer. Some burns for the Game Sharks and boot discs. Sega Smash Pack. Tokyo Extreme Racer 2. I don't know if you can see these. And is this another Jet Grind Radio? Yep, another Jet Grind Radio, I guess. Guess I have two of them. Virtual Fighter 3 TB. And then the Jet Set Radio. I guess I have the Japanese and American version. Little plastic... I guess the game was in here. I don't remember actually with a manual, but that manual is very thick. That wouldn't fit in a regular CD case. So those are my loose games. And now I'll start with just the games. Pro Pinball Trilogy. This was a European pinball release that I picked up because it's European and I wanted to import some stuff from other places. Pure Solar. This is the RPG that Watermelon put out years ago on the Genesis, and then they did a Dreamcast version. This is Redux Dark Matters, which I think I won in a contest from my friend Tom years ago, as well as Aero Fighters. I think Aero Fighters might be a bootleg or some kind of mod, but I think Redux was an actual release. So pretty cool stuff that they're still making games for one of my all-time favorite systems, hands down. And now we'll start with the other stuff. Let's see. Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future. Phantasy Star Online version 2. I love this series, though I used to play it more, I think, on... I want to say it was the original Xbox or the GameCube. Quake 3 Arena, still online. I have a broadband adapter, so I play my Dreamcast games online from time to time. Elemental Gimmick Gear, a great Zelda-like RPG. Virtua Tennis. NHL 2K. Soul Calibur. NBA 2K1. Silver, this is a pretty cool but pretty bad graphic action RPG. Shadow Man, my friend Munch gave me this a couple of years ago. He wrote to me and said, hey, I found a Dreamcast game I used to have that I didn't realize I had anymore. Do you want it? And it was Shadow Man, and I always wanted to play this. It's kind of like Tomb Raider. Sonic Adventure with no artwork. Dragon Riders, Chronicles of Pern. Zombie Revenge, this is one of my favorite arcade beat-em-ups. Railroad Tycoon 2. Unreal Tournament. Heavy Metal Geomatrix. Draconis Cult of the Worm. I don't know why it says $100 on it, but it was not $100. Daytona USA. F355 Challenge Passion Rosa. Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare. This is one I want to go back to. I think it's a pretty darn good reboot of the Alone in the Dark series. Whoa. Grandia 2. This is, I forget the name of this game, because it's in Japanese, but I think it uses the microphone and you can control little monsters that run across the screen. It's in this like big box, and I forget what the monsters do. I think they fight and you can send them on little missions and stuff. I don't remember if I played that one. I think I did once. Dreamcast demo disc, the generator disc. This is going to be fun putting these all back, huh? Guilty Gear X. Make sure I don't knock any of them over. God, it's so dusty too. Rival Schools 2, Project Justice. I love this. It's a great fighting game. I can't remember the American name of this. Chokusneki Kikao. This is romance? Oh, I can't remember the name of this for some reason. It's a robot fighting game. I just cannot recall the American name. You'll know it. I can't remember it. Densa de Go 2. This is the train simulation game. Spawn in the Demon's Hand. This is the Japanese version of the Spawn. I think it's Spawn Armageddon. I forget what it was called. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure for Matching Service. This was the online version that was harder to find because this is VGA compatible, and I play my Dreamcast with the VGA cord. So, Rent a Hero 1. This was a pretty cool action kind of RPG thing with a lot of Sega references. Tortoise does not want to stop making noise. Sorry, guys. This is this was like a little sampler, kind of weird puzzle game starring the, I think, president of Sega at the time, where if you found like treasure in the game and then submitted it online, you would win like a contest. I just thought it was a weird little knick-knack, interesting thing. Dynamite Deca 2, which is Dynamite Cop, I believe, the Die Hard arcade series. Really great game. Really, really great. Power Stone 2, Japanese. I love Power Stone. Black Matrix Advanced. I bought this and then realized there's a Saturn version, but I realized afterwards that this isn't supported on the VGA. This is a turn-based strategy RPG with a lot of like demons, heaven and hell references. It looked really cool, but I couldn't play it. Giant Graham 2000 is a wrestling game. Lots of great wrestling games on the Dreamcast. Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. I'm not a big Tomb Raider fan, admittedly. Feet of Fury. This was a gift from my friend Justin. When I bought Mortal Kombat 2 on the 32X from him, he sent this. Kiss Psycho Circus, a pretty underrated but good, interesting first-person shooter. Carrier. This is a like Resident Evil type game. I don't think I played that one. Sega Bass Fishing. Pod Speed Zone. I think I picked this up because I like to pick up the online games, even though a lot of them don't work online any longer. Sega Marine Fishing. Ready to Rumble. A classic. NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. A lot of them are things I wouldn't have bought, but like, I think I own 3 or 4 Dreamcasts, and like friends would sell me their Dreamcast and then throw in like 10 games, so that's why a lot of them are like things I really wouldn't play. Rainbow Six. Nightmare Creatures 2. I like the first one a lot. I think this one gets a bad rap. I thought it was okay from what I played. Sega Rally Championship. Iron Aces. It's a military plane shooter. Phantasy Star Online version 1. Armada. This is a like ship shooting game with RPG elements. NFL 2K1. Fire Pro Wrestling D. This is my favorite wrestling game of all time. If you can play the Fire Pro Wrestling series on the PS4, it is excellent. It's also on the PC. Tuken Retsuden 4. This is, I want to say this is either All Japan or New Japan. I always forget. Wrestling game, really good stuff. King of Fighters 2002. D2. not Enemy Zero, as I spoke about in my Saturn video. But I beat this. I had to skip some of the cutscenes at the end because the disc I got was so scratched that the cutscenes were freezing at the end of the game, and I had to skip some. And then the last boss was really, really difficult. I had to, I think, cheat and get some like first aid kits or something. Web Mystery. This is a really weird FMV horror point-and-click game. I did a review on this on my channel years ago when I beat it. Pretty fun. All in Japanese, though, so it's kind of hard to play, but I did beat it. Virtua Fighter 3 TB in Japanese. Toy Racer from England, from Europe. This is online, so that's why I picked this up. Headhunter. This was a Dreamcast exclusive, in Europe for a while, and then I think came on a PS2 eventually. Oh, here's the Headhunter discs. I don't like those cases, so I sometimes take the discs out of those cases. Capcom vs. SNK 2. This is one of my favorite fighting games. I thought that the Capcom vs. SNK series was excellent. I loved playing as all those different characters. Capcom vs. SNK 1. I also have a Neo Geo Pocket Color with the cable, the transfer cable, so you can transfer stuff from the Dreamcast to the Neo Geo Pocket Color and vice versa. So I forget which game. I think it was this one. I unlocked a bunch of stuff for the game with the cable. Shenmue 2. It's one game but 2 boxes because it was such a big game. That's the European release. That didn't get an American release. It only got a Japanese and European release. Rez. This was a pretty fun kind of cyberpunky weird shooter. Shenmue 1, the classic. Great game. Didn't age particularly well for me. I played 1 and 2 again on the HD collection, and I love them, but didn't age particularly well with some of the slow stuff in it. Fatal Fury Mark of the Wolves. Great, great fighting game. Sega Gaga. This is the Sega simulation game where it's kind of like Earthboundy looking. You play a Sega employee and you're developing a video game or something, and you have to fight like video game developers at a company that's similar to Sony. It's really funny and tongue-in-cheek, but it's in Japanese. But turn-based RPG, really underrated. This really needs a transfer of into English. It's great. South Park Chef's Love Shack. This was a trivia game. Omicron, the Nomad Soul. This is one of my favorites. It's sort of like a mix of Shenmue and Cyberpunk. Not Cyberpunk the game, Cyberpunk the genre. There's like fighting scenes, shooting scenes. They mix so many genres in this game. It's great. It's fourth wall breaking, and it got me into David Bowie's music. World Series Baseball 2K1. I may have 2 copies of that, I don't know. Mortal Kombat Gold. This was also a gift from Justin, who gave me Feet of Fury. He drew the artwork there. Speed Devils Online Racing. ECW Hardcore Revolution. Not a great game. Plays a lot like the WWF Attitude games, but I love ECW. It's my favorite wrestling company ever. Dead or Alive 2 without the artwork. Hidden and Dangerous. Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage. I think the creator of this just died recently, who did the manga. Skies of Arcadia, which is known as one of the best RPGs of all time. I think it has a GameCube release. Blue Stinger. This is a great survival horror. Really, really cheesy and funny and silly around Christmas time. Really fun game. Alien Front Online. Resident Evil Code Veronica. Not a big Resident Evil fan, admittedly. Plasma Sword. 18-wheeler American Pro Trucker. Space Channel 5. UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship. When I played this game the first time, I thought there would be nothing better look-wise than this game. I thought it was so amazing for the time. Suzuki All-Star Extreme Racing. The Floygan Brothers. This is a very underrated adventure puzzle game where you run a junkyard with your brother. Very good. I really enjoyed that when I beat it. WWF Royal Rumble. Pretty good arcade wrestling game. This is the Dreamcast for Tekken 3. This lets you play PlayStation games on your Dreamcast, certain ones, and it upconverts them. So there's the Dreamcast disc, and then the other side has Tekken 3 that I put in there, or that I guess came with it. Alice's Mom's Rescue. This was a game from UCast that was put out in 2015. It's a little platforming game. Seaman. That was a very unique game for its time. House of the Dead 2, I love this series. Record of Lotus War. This is like a Diablo type game that you don't hear much about. I think it's based off of an anime. Let me move the tortoise one more time. Come on, buddy. Just give me 5 minutes. We're down to the last stack of games. Red Line Racer. Super Speed Racing. You can always tell the Japanese ones because they're orange and white. NFL Quarterback Club 2000. Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver. Crazy Taxi. A sealed Dreamcast web browser. I use a download of the 3.0 web browser, which was very hard to come by. But I have a burn of it, and you're actually able to go online with it still with the broadband adapter and download save files and cheats and different things. So there's a couple of websites you can still do that from. NFL 2K2. Breakers. This was a gift recently from my good buddy Ricky Henry. I really like this game. It's a Neo Geo port to the Dreamcast. Yeah, I think I showed this already. World Series Baseball 2K1. Gunspike, aka Cannon Spike in America. This is a little fun arcade shooter. Very short but good. Expensive. Virtual On. This was the one I think you used those joysticks for. I think. I can't remember. Yes, it shows it on the back. So those dual sticks that are behind me somewhere are for Virtual On. This one I thought uses those sticks, but it doesn't. Frame Gride from Software, same people who did Dark Souls. Fighting Vipers 2, awesome fighting game, very fun. Evil Twin, this eventually I think got a PS2 release, I want to say. This is hard to come by, it's a European game, it was fairly limited, it's like a action platformer. This is Seaman, the Dreamcast Christmas edition. In Japan, the Japanese version. Marvel vs. Capcom, great fighting game. Excellent. Vampire Chronicle for matching service. It's Night Stalkers or Dark Stalkers. Soul Calibur in Japanese. And last but not least, great game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the Japanese version. Games like this were always cheaper to get from Japan years ago as opposed to the American versions, and it's just a fighting game, so it didn't really matter much that you couldn't speak the language. But this is my Dreamcast collection. As I said, I have a bunch of peripherals and I think 3 or 4 systems, the broadband adapters. I have a lot of stuff, but I love the Dreamcast. I think out of all the systems that I love, the Neo Geo and the Dreamcast hold up the most in terms of currently. Saturn holds up really well too, actually, with the imports, but Dreamcast is one of my all-time favorites. It's just excellent. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you've played any of these or maybe what some of your favorites are. It's Vampire Mike from Sega CD Universe. Be good.